Listen to the noise right now. Just listen to it. The 1.83-meter guard, the absolute best shooter in the entire league, and the undeniable financial engine of the sport, just received what feels like a massive slap in the face from the very people who are supposed to be protecting her. If you log onto the internet right this second, you will see thousands upon thousands of fans absolutely losing their minds, flooding the comment sections, demanding that the new head coach be fired immediately. They are calling the coach a saboteur, they are threatening to cancel their season tickets, and they are flat out stating that if their favorite star is not bringing the ball up the floor as the primary point guard, they are simply not going to watch. The fans are furious, and honestly, if you just look at the surface level of what has been happening over the last few weeks, you can completely understand why they are so angry. When you look at the bizarre personnel decisions that the front office has made recently, it really does look like a calculated script designed to hold back a generational talent. But the people screaming for the coach to be fired have completely missed the bigger picture. The truth behind these decisions is so much darker, so much more complex, and so much more fascinating than some petty, personal rivalry. Let me take you back to exactly 2 weeks before the night of the 2026 draft. A highly touted defensive specialist from the college ranks sat down in a podcast studio, looked into the microphone, and made a stunning admission. She confessed that the 1.83-meter star guard had completely broken her mentally during their epic college battles. She described in agonizing detail how the vicious online backlash she faced, which all started after the star guard gave her a dismissive wave-off gesture during a massive tournament game, led to relentless cyberbullying that left her depressed and wanting to quit the game of basketball entirely. That podcast clip did not just make a little bit of noise, it went incredibly viral, spreading like wildfire across every single social media platform, and it was fresh in the minds of every single basketball fan in the country. So keeping that fresh trauma in mind, imagine the absolute shock that rippled through the basketball world when the front office stepped up to the podium with the number 10 overall pick in the draft and called the name of that exact same defensive specialist. The basketball community completely exploded. Why on earth would the management team use a valuable first-round pick to draft an undersized defensive player who has very real question marks about her offensive ceiling and her ability to shoot from long distance, just to stuff her into a backcourt that was already overflowing with 5 other guards desperately fighting for playing time? It made absolutely zero sense on paper. The fans immediately took to the comment sections, typing in all caps, accusing the front office of intentionally bringing an enemy into the locker room just to make their superstar uncomfortable. Even the professional sports analysts at major publications had to raise their eyebrows and flag the pick as a total mismatch with what the roster actually needed. But right here is where the data and the hidden facts completely shatter that conspiracy theory. Do you want to know who actually smiled and nodded in approval at this draft pick? It was the 1.83-meter star guard herself. In a quiet interview that the mainstream media completely glossed over, the star explicitly confirmed that the front office had actively consulted her on their roster decisions throughout the entire winter, and she gave her full blessing to bring this supposed enemy onto the team. Now, why would she do that? Why would a superstar want a player who has a personal grudge against her in the same locker room? To understand this, you have to look down at the hardwood floor. A professional basketball court is exactly 94 feet long. Having to dribble a basketball across those 94 feet while fighting through the suffocating physical pressure of a full court press and aggressive double teams across a grueling 44-game regular season is absolute torture on the human body. It drains your legs, it drains your lungs, and it drains the explosive energy you need to hit clutch shots in the fourth quarter. Every single time that new defensive specialist takes the ball and handles the exhausting chore of bringing it up the floor, It means the star guard does not have to burn her own vital energy just to cross the half-court line. The star was not being sabotaged by management. She was strategically buying back her own physical endurance for the final 2 minutes of close games. However, that logical decision to share the ball-handling duties accidentally sparked a massive tactical civil war within the team. On the official team media day, the new head coach stepped up to the podium, looked at the reporters, and confidently laid out her brand new vision for the 2026 season. She wanted the team to play at a faster pace, she wanted them to play much harder on the defensive end, and most controversially, she wanted to completely spread the ball-handling responsibilities around. The coach explicitly stated that her ultimate goal was to get the star guard into the second or third action of an offensive possession, rather than having her initiate every single play herself. When the fans heard those words, it was like a bomb went off. The backlash was instantaneous, and it was fierce. The comment sections turned into an absolute war zone. Fans were typing furiously, saying that the coach was an egomaniacal woman who wanted everything her way, even if it destroyed the team. They said the coach was going to ruin the best years of the star's career just to stop her from breaking more records. One fan wrote a massive paragraph stating that the coach was freezing the star out and that if the star is not playing the point guard position, the seats in the arena are going to be completely empty. People were begging for male coaches, begging for different leadership, and calling the current coach ignorant for not knowing how to utilize a generational talent. And if we are talking purely about basketball theory, the fans have a very valid point. While the coach's idea of saving energy makes sense in a vacuum, in the reality of a live game, it is a catastrophic way to disarm your best weapon. The most terrifying aspect of the 1.83-meter guard is not just her ability to score points. It is the immense gravitational pull she exerts on the opposing defense whenever she has the basketball in her hands. When she is dribbling at the top of the key, standing 30 feet away from the basket, the entire defense panics. They have to step up, they have to double team, and they have to completely abandon their defensive principles because they know she can pull up and shoot from anywhere on the floor. That panic forces defenders to collapse, which magically opens up massive driving lanes and incredibly easy scoring opportunities for every single one of her teammates. But the moment you take the basketball out of her hands, that gravity instantly disappears. The defense can relax, stay home on their assignments, and the offense loses its sharpest, most deadly edge. The star guard knows exactly how valuable she is with the ball in her hands, and she was not about to just sit back and passively accept this new system. During that exact same media day, she looked straight into the television cameras and boldly declared, completely unprompted, that she is the single best transition player in the entire league. You do not drop a massive quote like that at a corporate team event unless you are intentionally drawing a line in the sand. She was sending a very clear message about how she expects to be utilized. To drive her point home even further, she brought up the greatest male three-point shooter in the history of the sport, noting how his team uses him off the ball in very specific stretches. She acknowledged that moving without the ball forces the defense to chase her through screens, creating a totally different kind of chaos. But the subtle, razor-sharp implication behind her words was impossible to miss. She was basically saying, I am perfectly willing to run off the ball in certain situational moments to confuse the opponent, but I absolutely will not endorse a system where playing off the ball becomes my permanent identity. This created a massive standoff. The head coach and the franchise player are currently standing on opposite sides of a giant tactical chasm. But the truly terrifying part is that both of their brilliant offensive philosophies are about to completely collapse, not because of what is happening on the perimeter, but because of a massive gaping hole right under the basket that the media is completely ignoring. While all the cameras, all the sports journalists, and all the screaming fans on social media have been obsessing over who gets to dribble the basketball, The front office has essentially signed a physical death warrant for their franchise center. The cold, hard reality is that the management team walked through the entire free agency period and came out the other side without signing a single reliable partner to play next to their 1.95-meter center. They spent all winter blindly hoarding guards like they were going out of style, but they completely starved the front court. They did sign a couple of players, but none of them fit the profile of a stretch forward who can shoot the three-pointer and keep the painted area from getting completely clogged up with defenders. I want you to really visualize this nightmare scenario. Imagine it is Game 5 of a brutal, high-stakes playoff series. The opposing team is rotating two massive physical players to constantly pound the ball inside. Your franchise center, who is 1.95 meters tall, is being forced to play 35-plus minutes because there is literally nobody sitting on the bench who can substitute in and hold the defensive line. By the time the fourth quarter rolls around, she is going to be running on absolute fumes, gasping for air. The opposing team is going to smell blood in the water, and they are going to attack her relentlessly on every single trip down the floor. This is not some crazy hypothetical situation made up for a video. This is the exact terrifying reality that analysts are pointing out when they explicitly state that the team has absolutely no backup for their star center. The front office clearly realized they messed up, and their last-ditch effort to fix it was to sign a 1.93-meter forward to a player development contract in mid-April. Now, this young player is actually an incredibly intriguing prospect. She has a massive wingspan, and she shot an incredible 42.2% from three-point range during her final year in college, taking over 6 attempts per game. That kind of high-volume shooting from a tall player is exactly what the star guard needs, because it pulls the big rim protectors out of the paint and creates those beautiful driving lanes. But there is a massive catch. A player development contract means she does not count against the salary cap. But it also means she is only legally allowed to play in a maximum of 12 games this entire season before the team has to make a hard decision on her status. You cannot rely on a 12-game trial contract to save your entire season when the playoffs are on the line. And once again, the star guard saw right through the roster flaws. She made a very calculated comment during training camp, casually mentioning that she prefers playing with teammates who can shoot the ball from deep and run the floor fast in transition. And let me tell you when she said that she was not looking at any of the 5 guards standing next to her. That was a polite yet incredibly firm ultimatum delivered straight to the front office. She knows exactly what puzzle pieces she needs around her to unlock her maximum potential, and those pieces are desperately missing from the front court. Right now, there are still 2 completely empty roster spots sitting at the bottom of the depth chart. Those 2 open spots are the absolute final chance for the management team to fix the massive front court disaster they created by spending their entire offseason collecting guards like trading cards. So when you look past the drama on the shiny hardwood floor, the story of this 1.83-meter guard and this tangled mess of coaching tactics teaches us an incredibly profound lesson about knowing your own worth in the real world. Think about it. When you walk into a workplace or a team or any system that suddenly feels like it was designed specifically to slow you down, when your bosses look you in the eye and tell you to take a step back, to put away the exact skills that made you great in the first place just to serve some unproven collective philosophy. How do you handle that pressure? Our star guard did not choose to throw a temper tantrum. She did not go on Twitter and rant like the angry fans. She did not create cheap, trashy drama for the tabloids. She faced the mounting pressure with a chilling professional calmness. She deeply understands the value of strategic compromise. She gladly agreed to bring in a fierce competitor to help carry the physical burden of dribbling up the floor. She openly admitted she is willing to run without the ball to confuse the defense in specific moments. But, and this is the most crucial part, she absolutely refused to compromise on the core identity that makes her a legendary player. Knowing exactly who you are publicly and professionally, defining the boundaries of your own greatness, and letting the undeniable weight of your talent speak for itself under immense pressure. That is not just a survival tactic for a professional athlete. That is the ultimate blueprint for any human being who wants to maintain their true value when they are trapped inside a deeply flawed system. You do not need to scream and shout to prove them wrong. You just need to step onto the court, execute your vision, and let your undeniable excellence force the system to adapt to you. Right now, the tension is thicker than it has ever been. The coach wants a slower defensive grind where the ball is shared. The star wants to push the pace run in transition and dictate the chaos with the ball in her hands. Both of these philosophies cannot coexist without someone eventually breaking. The star player has already placed her bet on the table. She has drawn her line. Now the entire basketball world is holding its breath to see if the front office will fill those last 2 roster spots with the right pieces, or if the sheer weight of public outrage will eventually swallow the coaching staff whole. This is the moment where I turn it over to you, the real tactical minds who watch this channel. I need to hear your voices right now. If you have ever jumped off your couch screaming at your television because this 1.83-meter guard pulled up from the logo and drained a ridiculous shot, I want you to drop a basketball emoji in the comments right this very second. Let us fill the comment section and show everyone exactly how many people are riding with her through this storm. And I want your brutal, honest opinion. When you look at the facts we just broke down, do you think the coach's new defensive system is actually holding back greatness? Or do you think it is a completely necessary sacrifice to survive the brutal grind of a professional season? Which side of the tactical war are you on? Drop your hottest takes down below. I promise you, I sit here and read every single comment because I respect the different ways you all see the game. Every single comment you leave helps push this video out to more passionate sports fans. Fans who deserve to hear the deep, tactical truth about what is actually happening on the floor instead of just reading the clickbait headlines that try to stir up fake drama. If you believe that the real numbers, the real film analysis, and the actual truth matter more than the gossip, make some noise in the comments right now. You now understand the deep structural warfare happening inside this team's locker room and on the whiteboard. But if you think this situation with the star guard fighting against her own front office's expectations is wild, you have not seen anything yet. Wait until you see the complete spacing disaster that unfolded during the very first 3 games of the season. I have broken down every single frame of that footage, and trust me, the breakdown is even more shocking than the stats we just talked about. That video is sitting right there on your screen. Do not miss it. Click it right now and let us dive straight into the next breakdown. Let us picture exactly how this broken system looks under the incredibly bright lights of a real, high-stakes basketball game. Imagine there are exactly 42 seconds left on the game clock in the 4th quarter. The score is tied. The arena is so loud that the players cannot even hear themselves think. The 1.95-meter center is completely gasping for air, her hands on her knees because she has been battling 2 massive defenders in the paint for 38 grueling minutes without a single moment of rest. According to the brand new system designed by the head coach, the 1.83-meter star guard is absolutely not allowed to bring the ball up the floor in this critical moment. Instead, she has to inbound the basketball to the new defensive specialist and immediately sprint away to hide in the corner, desperately trying to play off the ball like she was instructed. What do you think the opposing defense does? They are professional athletes. They are incredibly smart, and they watch film every single day. They completely ignore the defensive specialist bringing the ball up the court. They know she is not a threat to shoot from deep. So the defender sags off her by 3 full meters, completely clogging the middle of the floor. The paint becomes an absolute traffic jam. The exhausted center cannot move. The driving lanes vanish into thin air. The offensive spacing is completely and utterly destroyed in a matter of seconds. Now there are only 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Panic sets in. The system has failed, and what has to happen? The 1.83-meter guard has to sprint out of the corner, abandon the coach's strict offensive philosophy, demand the basketball at the top of the key, and create absolute magic out of thin air while facing a massive double team. She has to hit a deeply contested 30-foot fadeaway shot just to bail out a broken strategy. That is not sustainable championship basketball. You cannot expect your greatest generational weapon to constantly clean up the tactical messes created by a coaching staff that refuses to adapt to the reality of the roster. When a system repeatedly forces your best player to break the rules just to survive, you do not have a stubborn player. You have a fundamentally broken system.